Hi, Crickellectuals. Welcome to another episode. I'm joined by my co-host Rafan here. What's up, Rafan? How's it going?
Hey Jay, I'm well. Thank you. Hello everyone. Welcome back. I'm here, man. Ready to do this with my chai ready and locked and loaded. So let's get to it.
Cheers to the chai, man. What's on the agenda today?
Interesting topics as usual, some good and bad. First topic is Hasnain's bowling action that was prompted by umpires in Australia in the Big Bash League. We'll discuss that and get our thoughts on it, and then we'll follow it by our dominance since ICC Awards. And it's been good news overall. A lot of Pakistani players, men's and women's team. So let's begin, Jay. What do you think about the controversy around Hasnain's bowling action? And have you watched the video that triggered the whole response?
Yeah, really interesting. What we know is that first game, first of all, Hasnan had an explosive kind of entrance to the Big Bash League and built really huge fandom right from the beginning. On his debut, he was the first in the history of the Big Bash League to get 3 wickets on his debut. He had a really good, first game, and actually every other game too had a pretty good run in. He's been a very economical bowler in all of the T20s, and the Australian crowd has been really cheering him on, and he's got a lot of fans out there now. So he's done really well. And Hassan, as we know, started here at PSL. 2019 is when he made his mark in Pakistan, and he's been doing really well ever since, slowly but surely trying to make his way into the national team. And Bokar Yunus himself has trained him over 2 years, and he's been under the close eye of our coaches. And he's been a real candidate for the team. So he's no, technically off bowler. He is pretty good sound bowler, but it sounds like, and it looks like sometimes that his action is a bit suspect, and it appears that on certain deliveries his action is suspect. And just to recap the story, Henrique's the captain of the other team that they were playing on that evening. They were going back and forth a little bit. There was a little bit of a, competition going on between the two of them. And Hasnan was going at him, and Henrique's was responding back and trying not to back off. And, the stump mic caught him saying to Hasnan, "Nice throw, mate." So, I guess he's suggesting that he's throwing or chucking as opposed to bowling with a proper action. And that clip kind of went viral. And afterwards, we learned that his action was reported by the umpires. And I paid a lot of close attention to it after the fact, after this news story became a story. I went around looking at the footage that was available of him bowling both in the nets and outside. And we made a YouTube video about this too, where we analyzed the action at a deeper level. And it's weird because in some pictures there does seem to be a bend in the elbow, but again, there's pictures, and it's hard to really make a judgment based on a picture, because in earlier parts of his action sometimes it looks like the elbow is bent a little bit. And he's also a muscular person, and it's hard to tell whether it's the bicep that's making it look like the elbow is bent. But in other times, it is clean as a whistle, like it is clean as a whip, I should say, because it's a straight, flat, full length arm. So it is confusing. And I know as a Pakistani, it feels like, oh, great, another controversy. Oh, great, our bowlers are being targeted again, because this has happened to us in the past. But after looking at it closely, I felt, just by looking at the pictures and some of the videos, that there might be something to look at and something to improve. Now, that doesn't mean that Hassan is not a good bowler. He's going to lose his pace or something. And just talking about his pace, he's bowled up to 155 kilometers per hour, which is about 96 miles an hour. So he's pretty fast bowler, and one we need, and we want to groom and make sure that he's on the right track. And if there's any technical issues, that they get resolved. So my take is that, fine, if this has been reported and if some people have seen an issue in some of the deliveries, let's take a closer look. He's a young bowler. He's a young talent, up and coming for us. We want to improve him. We want to make him, give him the best opportunity to train with the best people. And if there are any small issues and niggle here and there, we should correct that. That's one thing that I think of right away. And the other thing is, part of the story was made more complicated when one of the previous coaches of his, or another coach who had the chance to work with Hasnain, had mentioned in a tweet after this that he's got some technical issues. So he didn't mention the arm specifically, but he did mention the way his foot was landing. And I believe it's his left foot, the way it was landing a little bit, pointing out, I guess, westward as opposed to just pointing straight in front toward the batsman. So he pointed out that problem. Now, they might not be the same, right? He's pointing out a different issue. This elbow thing is a different issue, but it also might be part of the package. So I feel if there is some technical issue, then we should definitely take this call by the umpires seriously, and we should examine it more closely, and we should not get emotional about it. We should just give it a shot and see what we can see on our own. The good thing is that the Australian Cricket Board was supposed to have Hasnain go to the biomechanics lab there in Australia and get tested there. But because of PSL coming up, Pakistan did call all their players back early, and Hasnain had to go back to Pakistan. And also because the quarantine rules and stuff and the time windows are very tight. So he had to get back to Pakistan. But luckily in Pakistan, in Lahore, we do have a biomechanics facility that is ICC approved, and that's where he's getting tested. In fact, today, Tuesday, was the day when he was supposed to go and get the tests done. So we'll find out probably tomorrow. We'll start to hear the news again about what, if anything, the tests found or what was revealed. Maybe it'll take a few days for them to interpret the tests, but at the end of the day, it is Australian Cricket Board's call, not the cricket board, but they're sending a team of bowling experts, bowling review team, who is supposed to vet all the data that comes out of the lab, and they're supposed to, in the end, have the final say in whether or not his action is legal. And so it's really in their court, but the test is getting done in Pakistan. So best wishes to Hasnain. I feel like whatever happens, we should embrace it and, try to just help the player out and make him a better bowler.
I did hear about his foot placement, and it could, lead to a really serious injury. And it's good that we caught that early on. So while we fix his action, if there is something wrong with it, they can correct his foot placements altogether, But looking at the action itself, man, I don't have the eye that you have. I did not suspect anything. So when I hear about illegal action from a fast bowler, I immediately look for a bent arm. And I think there's more to that. It's not just your bent arm, it's the extension of the arm after it was bent at an angle. So what I understand, imagine yourself throwing a basketball into a hoop. So you extend your arm back, the upper portion of your arm from your elbow to your hand, bring it closer to your face, and when you throw and when you end your release, your arm is straight parallel to the ground. I think that deviation of angle is what they're measuring. So, for example, if you were throwing a ball like a T-Rex and you didn't really extend your elbow and just dropped it down without moving it, that's apparently a legal action. So it's not how bent your arm is, it's how much it moves. And I think they allow 15 degrees of deviation because naturally every bowler has some type of extension. So it's very confusing. So it's really an anomaly by all definitions, right? It's a irregularity for Pakistan, for his career, his course of action of bowling, and literally a angular deviation. So I always get confused what they look for. But again, like you said, we shouldn't be upset about it. It's good that we caught it early on, unlike Saeed Ajmal, who had been bowling for a few years and was a great bowler for us. Before that, they didn't have the biomechanical facilities, so you didn't see a lot of our other bowlers going through it. And I've been seeing the bent arm with spinners very often. Murli Dharan is one of the players, but I think he had some medical issue and his arm actually didn't extend, so it remained bent at the release of the ball. So it's all very confusing, but best wishes and hope he comes out with a clear action and there's no deviation at all.
I hope so. I have the ICC playbook up right now in front of me, and here's what it says in that fair delivery clause in 21.2. And I quote, it says, an illegal bowling action is
Wait, let me write this down.
My man. 21.2. You should memorize it. Uh,
21.2. I thought it was
it's
21.3.
20.
My bad.
Actually, it's
Okay, got it.
21.2 and 21.3. So there's a couple of them. Uh, but Cricket Man says, an illegal bowling action is defined as a bowling action where a bowler's elbow extension, it's an elbow extension specifically according to the rules, that exceeds 15 degrees. So the elbow extension bent, your forearm to bicep bend, that is how I interpret it. That bend can be up to 15 degrees and it cannot exceed the 15 degrees measure from the point at which the bowling arm reaches the horizontal until the point at which the ball is released. End quote of that. So I know it's been muddled lately because of this weird intricacies of the human body and different people having these unique circumstances, like you mentioned, Matthias Merlider, and then also Shoaib Akhtar, our own, and Saeed Ajmal. But Shoaib Akhtar had this hyperextension situation where the elbow went, his
Yeah, he was double jointed. His
yeah,
extended
exactly.
outwards.
So
So
his
that's
forearm
okay.
went back the other way. Yeah. So actually, the clause here says that hyperextensions are discounted. So that is taken care of. But the 15 degrees, if I feel like if a batter there and they're able to see some kind of a bend, then there's something to it. It's either the way the person is running in and the way they're turning their back. Sometimes that can create this kind of a facade that you might think the arm is coming out from a certain direction or bent. So the batter can be wrong in this, which is why it's important to really have a look at it through the biomechanic technology, whatever we have available. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think my other concerns really were around how this situation was handled, because 21.3, in that clause, it says what the umpire is supposed to do when such an incident occurs during the game. And they're supposed to give a warning to the bowler, which we don't have any record of. And if after that, this happens again, a suspect action happens again during the game, they're supposed to tell the captain and suspend the bowler right there. They can't bowl anymore. So none of these two things happened. And at the end of the game, then they're supposed to fill out and complete a full report to submit to the ICC to formally report the action. So none of these things happened, and we went straight to this statement by the batter. So that's my real concern. Like, are we gonna put every bowler through all of this biomechanic testing because one batter said, "Hey, nice throw"? That to me is problematic. Like, that gives too much power to the batsman to just, they get mad or they're having a bad outing, they're pissed off at the bowler, and they could just make an allegation that, oh, that was a throw, and now the umpire has to file a report just because the batter said it. So I don't know if the umpires did all of their homework before submitting this as a suspect action report. I don't know if they followed all their steps. I didn't watch the whole. Go ahead.
Did you say the batsman or umpire is supposed to report it to the captain? It has to stop there and
Yeah,
then during the match? Is
yeah,
that
that's what it
the
says here.
That doesn't make any sense, man. That is insanity. I mean, it could be a final of World Cup with Shoaib Akhtar bowling and getting wickets, and anybody can make this up just to delay the match and get rid of the bowler. That's definitely got to
Yeah, but here's what
change
it said. It said if
in the
either
future.
umpire considers that in that innings a further delivery by the same bowler is thrown, so like another no ball, or including an underarm kind of ball, he shall call and signal a no ball when the ball is dead from the other end of the umpire to call. And then the bowler end of the umpire will direct captain of the fielding side to suspend the bowler immediately from bowling. So if it happens a second time, they have to report it to the captain, and this bowler who did it again should immediately be suspended from bowling. And that over shall, if applicable, be completed by a different bowler who shall neither have bowled the previous over or part thereof, nor be bowled to bowl any part of the next over. So again, that bowler is then for the rest of the game is not supposed to bowl again. So that is the technical rule as it states here, right?
Very confusing. And what happens when you go into the biomechanical facility? Are you tested again, or is your action tested against the footage that was previously called upon? Because you can always go and keep your arm as straight as possible during the testing. unless it's a natural or medical disability.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't care about the clauses, man. I was just joking. Those
I'm
those
going to
numbers
send
were
you a
just
copy of the ICC playbook.
you have to memorize these and
You know, the
quiz me
funny
on it.
thing is, you
Sure.
had said once that we should really look at this ICC handbook more often and bring out these rules. And I think that's a good idea. And that's what made me go back to it, because I was like, you know what? This is one of those situations where the rules not always clear. And a lot of this stuff happens behind the closed doors of a lab or whatever. And we don't really see the report that the umpire wrote. That's all confidential. So we're left with whatever the ICC says in their playbook. And this is what they say. So hopefully, if they're going by this, like you said, all goes well, and Hasnan comes out of this a better bowler, a more confident bowler.
Amen. Moving forward, Jay, with ICC Awards. First of all, let me ask you this. I didn't know this. Did you know that Pakistan has never
No.
won an ICC, Cricketer of the Year or Batsman of the Year or T20 Batsman of the Year? I did not know that. I did not have that knowledge. I mean, all the great talent that we produce over the years, collectively, Imran Khan, Abdul Qadir, Yunus Khan, Muhammad Yusuf, Inzamam, Waqar, Wasim, man, and none of them ever made it. That's just insane to me.
Yeah.
This is the first time we won these, and not just one of them, all three of them, and in style, and the women's cricket as well. This is great, man.
Yeah.
And we sound like a broken record. Again, it's Shaheen, Babar, and Rizwan being talked about. There's murals of them, new wallpapers, ICC, ESPN Cricket Info is sharing, and Pakistani flags everywhere. And I'm not used to seeing that, but delighted
Yeah, it's
to
a
see
great
that
feeling.
happen.
And to your earlier point, I don't know when these awards actually started. So, that's something to look into. You mentioned all these other legends that they didn't get these awards before. That's surprising. I agree that somebody like Imran Khan or Javed Miandad would not have gotten it. But probably the awards didn't start back then. The awards is kind of a trendy thing. I feel like they started after, all these movie awards became so big. So I'm wondering
That's a good
if
point.
it
Yeah.
just started way later.
Speaking of all the greats that we produce, there's, we have the ICC ODI test ranking and T20, right, that we look at often to see where we land.
Yeah.
There's also a ICC all-time ranking. And in
Mm.
ODIs, you have the greats, Tendulkar, you have Viv Richards. You would think they're number one or two. So number one is Viv Richards, but a fun fact that Zahir Abbas is number two in the ODI rankings of all time. Believe it or not.
That's
And
incredible.
Tendulkar is, I think, number 13 or 14. I don't know what the criteria is, but that's good to see that we're also there in the top all-time ranking in
Yeah,
ODIs
Pakistan
at
has a lot
least.
to celebrate. I think this is really good news. I mean, I feel like there have been, so what do we got so far? This was like the third player recognition event that took place, right? We had the PCB Awards 2021, then we had the other awards that took place for the best players, the highest performing players of 2021, which the PCB also did. So that's two right there. And then this more global event, which is the ICC Awards 2021, we claimed 4 awards there that you mentioned. I think the impressive one is also the Emerging Cricketer of the Year, the women's team player called Fatima Sana. That's interesting. I'm really excited because, in March we have the Women's World Cup, and they also just announced the captain and the vice captain for the women's team for the World Cup in March. And the captain is going to be Bisma Maroof. The vice captain is going to be one of our favorites, Nida Dar. Good pair of leadership. They're both very strong. Bisma Maroof has a lot of experience also. She's led the team in the World Cup before as well. This is not her first time. So hopefully this experience comes into play and the team does well. We're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we talked about the PCB Awards and the other event where they gave out checks to each player, but this is global. This is mother of all awards, right? So
Yeah.
cricket, the sport itself, all the top players who were nominated from across the nations, Pakistan comes on top. And for all men's batting, the top 3 awards and the Cricketer of the Year. So this is really big news. Something we haven't seen in our lifetime.
Something else about Babar Azam. Just want to make a point about Babar Azam. Babar Azam was the ODI Cricketer of the Year, but also the captain of the ICC ODI team that they picked. And
The fantasy
that's
team.
right. And the
Yeah.
same thing for the T20. He was in the T20 team of the year, but also the captain of the team of the year. So not only has he won some awards, he's also the best possible leader in T20 and ODI, according to ICC. So that's quite a statement, man. You have all of the captains to choose from. And Babar's picked over the likes of Virat Kohli. And, Kohli's had a rough patch. This year's been not good, and 2022 has been worse so far. But good luck to Kohli.
Kohli has played 6 ODIs since January 2021, and he scored 4 50s. So Kohli is not doing good if you compare him with Kohli stats.
Yeah.
That's pretty good performance if you really look back at it. 4 50s out of 6 matches. It's we're just not used to not having centuries 2 or 3 times each year, and that hasn't happened in 3 years. So well, hopefully he turns it around, because we need competition. We can't have Babar doing it all by himself,
but there's
right?
also time, right? I think the baton is being passed. Indian cricket right now is going through a lot of their own issues, so we'll leave that others to talk about. But what the point I was trying to make is that Babar has, been recognized as a leader, as the top leader as well, not just a top batter. And I think that's something that's very
important.
interesting.
I think that's all we have for. I think we should close it down, and hope all the Crickellectuals tune in and log into our next episode as well. Check us out at crickellectuals.com, Instagram page, Facebook page, and until next time, have a good day and peace.